And we are live from 50 Way Studios in Toledo, Ohio. And this is HorsePower. I'm your host, Felix Taverna. It is a pleasure to be here reporting in from Southern California as we approach 67 days until the 152nd running of the Kentucky Derby live from Churchill Downs in Louisville, Kentucky. Now, on our last episode, we talked about how you qualified for the Kentucky Derby. Each equine turns a birthday the 1st of January. So last year, the 2 year olds on January 1st, 2026, became 3 year olds. And now they all qualify for the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont Stakes, known as the Triple Crown. Now, in order to get into the Kentucky Derby, you have to accumulate points. And those points are accumulated through races known as prep races. So, throughout the country, Tampa Bay, Gulfstream Park, Keeneland, Churchill Downs, Santa Anita, all throughout the country will host prep races that will garner the winner, the second place, the third place, and even in some cases, the fourth place finisher points in order to get into the starting gate. Only 20 horses are in the gate for the Kentucky Derby. So the higher the points you garner, that means that you secure your place in the running of the Kentucky Derby. Now, the Kentucky Derby is the most coveted American horse race. It goes on for 100+ years, as mentioned. It is the mint julep of all races. Everyone who breeds a horse wants to get that horse into the Kentucky Derby. It's restricted, however, as I mentioned, for 3 year olds and 3 year olds who are now currently in conditioning, in training, in running, are lining up by their owners, their trainers, the connections in order to run in a prep race. If they win that prep race, the points accumulated are as stated. Most of them are 20, 15, 10, and 5. As we get a little closer to that date of May the 2nd, the point scale becomes larger and they become 50 points. And so you have several opportunities to qualify for the Kentucky Derby. It's been a real easy January and February so far, and no one has clearly stamped themselves as a standout yet within the prep races. But as we get closer in the weeks to come, as mentioned, 67 days are a part of what separates us today from May the 2nd. So in the next 7 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it might be, we will see a number of prep races. We'll see the Santa Anita Derby. We'll see the Bluegrass from Keeneland. We'll see the Wood Memorial from New York. All these races are major prep races on the way to Churchill Downs. Those connections want to do well in these races. They want to obviously win that race, but if they run second or third, as mentioned, they gain points, and those points are very valuable. I think the cutoff point last year was at 25. So horse number 20 had 25 points, good enough to get into the gate. Now, if there's scratches, they'll take the ones that are underneath that lowest point of numbers accumulated, and they will be able to get a start in the Kentucky Derby. You know, the questions that I have been asked about horse racing has been plentiful. And for the newcomers coming into the game who might not have any idea how the game works, I'm going to share with you a little bit about how the betting menu works. But before that, I want to talk a little bit about the breeding. A sire, a horse who's a male who impregnate uh, a brood sire, which is the mare, and they will have their foal. That foal is either a filly or a colt. A filly is 3 years old. A colt is 3 years old until he reaches the age or she reaches the age of 5. Then that filly becomes a mare and that colt becomes a horse. So there is some systematic chemistry and sciences behind the breeding aspect of breeding a top notch sire to a top notch broodmare, having the offspring, and having that foal become a champion. We've seen it through the test of times. Now, in the betting aspect of it, most people always ask me, like, how does it work? Felix, tell me, how do you inseminate and put everything together? Well, I'm going to give you a bird's eye view of exactly how it happens. Let's pick any race, any day, at any racetrack. There is a morning lines maker. He will designate a morning line odds compared to the strength, the connections, the breeding, etc., to these horses. So, just for case in point, if there's 10 horses in the race, one of those horses will be designated as the favorite. He might be morning lined at 3-1. The
The
second
second
horse might
horse might
be 5-1. And the third horse might be 10-1. And they fluctuate. When that race opens up, the horses come to the track from the receiving barn. They walk into the paddock so the public can view them, take a good look at them, because horses, by the way, are like athletes. You want to look at a horse that has his ears pricked, that he has his attentive span focused on what's going to transpire within the next 15 minutes. Now, as that race opens up, it's a parimutuel. It's you versus I. You and I are changing the odds. You might like the 7 horse and you might bet your money on the 7. The more money bet on a particular horse when that race opens up becomes less in odds. His odds drop. Horses that are being ignored, they rise in odds, being that they might be a morning line at 5-1, but get no attention at all, and they could be 10, 15, 20, or 25-1. So now, as the players and the fans and the bettors are looking at these horses, the odds are fluctuating. Remember, you and I are changing the odds. The racetrack is just the house. They're controlling the money. So there is a takeout of usually 18% of every race that the house takes off the top. And so for every dollar bet, we're only getting 83 cents back. So 83 cents is in that pool. So here we have it. Now, we have all the horses that are parading around. People are liking whatever horse that they might like. It could be the 5, it could be the 6, it could be the 9, it could be the 12. And they are betting their money on these horses. Remember, the more money that's bet on any particular horse, his odds drop. When a horse is getting no attention, no action, his odds rise, and they are a long shot. Now, there's a number of ways that you can win at the horse races, and a lot of people ask me, like, how do you bet? Now, let's take 10 horses, and we're going to zero in on horse number 5. Right now, the board states that the 5 horse is at 6-1. Everything is based on a $2 increment. So if that horse wins, you will get back 2 times 6. That's 12. That's $12 plus the $2 that you bet. So a horse at 6-1 will return $14 to win. There's other ways you can win on a horse as well. You can bet him the place. That means a horse has to run first or second. You didn't bet him to win, but you bet him to place, so you will get the place money. So if the 5 horse pays $12 to win, he might pay 6 or 7, $8 to place. And that is what you get in return for your $2 bet. And then that third window is the show. And that is when a horse finishes third. And a horse finishes third, you're going to get less money back from the win, less money back from the place, less money back with the show. The show is the less and least amount of money returned when you bet across the board. They call it whips: win, place, or show. Across the board, meaning that you bet the horse to win, the horse to place, and the horse to show. So if you have $2 across the board on the 5 horse and he pays $15 to win, $7 to place, and $5 to show, you add up all those 3 windows: 15, 7, and 5. And that's 15 and 7 is 22, plus 5 is 27. You bet $2 to win, place, and show. So you subtract that, and you net return $21. Now, the second way that you can win money at the track is betting an exacta. An exacta is exactly what it sounds like and depicts. You got to have the first and second place horses in a row. So if you go up and you bet a $2 exacta, 5-4, the 5 has to win and the 4 has to run second. You can box those, meaning that you have it both ways. 5-4-4-5. And also, you can play a number of horses in the exacta. You're just not limited to 2. You can bet 3, 4, 5 horses in the exacta. The larger the fields, the larger the odds, the larger the return. If the odds designate you pick the first and second place horse. So just say, for sake of argument, I like 5 horses. And so I go up to the window and I want to bet the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that is an exacta bet. For $2, it's going to cost me $40. But I have so many combinations here if I box them. If I box the 1 through the 5, I have the 1, 2, the 1, 3, the 1, 4, the 1, 5, the 2, 1, the 2, 3, the 2, 4, the 2, 5, the 3, 1, the 3, 2, the 3, 4, the 3, 5, the 4, 1, the 4, 2, the 4, 3, and the 4, 5, and of course the 5, 1, 5, 2, 5, 3, 5, 4. Now, all we need to do, and it's not as easy as all we need to do, we have to be somewhat lucky, and we have to finish first or second in the exacta to get paid. So if we box 5 horses and that exacta comes 3-5, we have the 3-5 because we boxed the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now just say the 3 horse is at 10 to 1 and the 5 horse is at 20 to 1. That exacta could pay 2, 3, 4, $500. It all represents how much money was bet in the pool. So exactas are a good way to go because there are a number of races where you like more than 1 or 2 or even 3 horses in that race, and you can include these other 2, and hopefully you will have that exacta finishing first and second. Now the next bet is a little bit more difficult. It's called the trifecta. And the trifecta means that you have to have the first, the second, and the third place horse run in that order. So your 3 horses in that trifecta needs to run first, second, or third. So if you just like three horses, you can go up and you can bet a trifecta, which is usually a 50-cent bet, and you can play it straight. You can say, I want a 50-cent trifecta, three with the 4 5, meaning the three has to win and the four and the five has to run second or third. Or if you bet it straight, you would bet three, four, and five, then that's a way it would finish. You can key a horse. Just say you like the three horse as your main horse and you like three or four other horses underneath it. You can key it, and it's a part wheel. It's called part wheel trifecta, where that you're keying one horse, and that horse happens to be the three. The three has to win. And then you have horses underneath it that have to finish second or third. That trifecta will pay in accordance to the odds. So if the three is your key horse and he wins at 5 to 1, and you also have the 1, 2, 4, 5 underneath that in the trifecta remember that it has to be first, second, and third, unlike the exacta, where you win first or second, then it's going to pay you according to the odds. Now, the odds could be real juicy. They could be real juicy here. Just say, for sake of argument, the three horses 5 to 1. Now you have four horses underneath it for that exacta, meaning they have to finish second and third, any one of those four numbers. And just say the four horses 10 to 1 and the five horses 15 to 1. You have a winning horse at 5 to 1. Remember, 5 times 2 is 10, plus your $2 back is 12. So that horse to win, the three horse, is going to pay $12. Now, as far as the pool and how people bet in that pool, the trifecta pool is going to zero you in on how much you will get paid. So if the four horse is at 10 to 1 and the five horse is at 20 to 1, that trifecta can pay anything from $100 to $500 or $600 according to how much was bet in the pool. Now, I personally like to box all my bets, meaning in the exacta, I like to, if I play a four horse exacta box, I like the box 1, 2, 3, 4 because I got that many combinations rather than just hitting it exactly. The same for the trifecta. The trifecta, I like to box them as well. Just for sake of argument, again, that we play five horses in the trifecta. For 50 cents, that will cost you $30. But you have five horses, and your five horses have to finish first, second, and third. And according to the odds, the payouts can be quite juicy. And the higher the odds, the more money you get. Remember that. Our next bet that we're going to be talking about is the superfecta, which you have to have four horses in a row. And sometimes that's even harder than the trifecta because you have to have one more horse that hits in that fourth spot. And those bets are usually $1. So if you play a superfecta, you have to be perfect by having the one with the two, with the three, with the four. Those four numbers and your selections of four horses have to win. Place second, third, as well as fourth. That's the superfecta. Now, what's good about the superfecta is they also have a 10-cent superfecta, a lot less than the $1 superfecta. So for four horses in the 10-cent superfecta, instead of paying $24 for four horses in that superfecta, a 10-cent superfecta will cost you $2.40. Now, just this last weekend, there was a superfecta that paid $2,223 for 10 cents. It was the first place horse was 17 to 1. The second place horse was 10 to 1. The third place horse was 40 to 1. And the fourth place horse was 50 to 1. Now, for a dollar, that'll pay $22,000 if you had those numbers aligned. But if you had a 10-cent superfecta, it only cost you $2.40. You have one fifth of that $2,200 or that $22,000 payout. And that came right around $2,000 as mentioned. So those are the ways in which you can get acclimated with the horse races. A lot of folks come out, they look at the board. It's really hard to understand. But if you remember this, that every race, every horse has an odds aligned to it, and everything's based on $2. And then you see a horse that's 10 to 1, and you bet your $2 on that horse, and he wins, he's going to pay $20 plus 2. That's $22. The exactas, hope you hook up with your horses that you think are going to run second, as well as a trifecta when you have to finish first, second, and third. And of course, the superfecta with first, second, third, and fourth. These are called exotics, and most old timers call them gimmicks because there's so many ways that you can make money at the track. As I say, you could bet win, horse has to win. You can bet place, where the horse has to win or run second. Of course, you don't get the win money because you didn't bet him to win. You just bet him to place. But if a horse wins, he's going to give you place money. And if you bet $2 on the 5 horse to place and the 5 horse wins the race, then you're going to get money back. And show, as I mentioned, the least amount of the win or the place is on the show. But it's the safe way to bet, and all your horse has to do is finish first, second, or third for you to get paid. Now, during a 10 race card, there are so many different values, and there's exotics. There's a pick three, meaning that you have to have winners of each race. So the first race, you like the 5. The second race, you like the 4. The third race, you like the 6. Those selections need to win the races for you to win the pick three. The pick fours are a little bit tougher, where you have 4 races where you have to pick the winning horses in all 4 races. Saturday, $30,000 pick 4, a $51,000 pick 4. Obviously, first, second, third, and fourth races was filled with some long shots. 10 to 1, 15. Gotta win the races. And then the pick 5. The pick 5s are 50-cent bets, where here again, it's even more difficult than the 3 or the 4, the pick 3 or the 4, because you have to have 5 winning selections in a row. And you can use a number of different horses in the race. You can use 3 horses in the first race, 2 horses in the second leg, 4 horses in the third leg, 3 horses in the fourth leg, and 5 horses in the fifth leg. With the addition of your multiple horses, the cost of your ticket goes up. And let me share exactly what I mean by that. Let's take a pick 5. We like 2 horses in the first leg, 5 horses in the second leg. So that's 2 times 5 is 10. In the third leg, we have 2 horses. So that's 10 times 2 is 20. In the leg, we have 3 horses. So that's 20 times 3 is 60. And then in the last leg, we have two horses. So 60 times two is 120. It's a 50-cent bet. So 120 would be $1. $60 would be a 50-cent bet. So you take the number of horses that you have in each leg, you multiply them. 2 times 5 is 10, times 2 is 20, times 3 is 60, times 2 is 120, and you divide that by a half because it's a 50-cent bet, it's a 50-cent wager, and that's $60 for your pick five. All your horses have to win. If they win, you're going to get paid handsomely. And the final exotic bet that I want to talk about is the pick six, which started in Caliente years ago down in Tijuana, Mexico, as the 510. And what happens here is that you have to pick six winners in a row, and it's not an easy task. And so, just like the pick three, the pick four, the pick five, the pick six, you have to study race by race, and that race sequence of those six races, you have to have all six winners. Now, this weekend, there was a pick six winner back east that identified all six in that sequence, and it returned $141,000. Now, his ticket must have been a pretty high ticket in comparison to a small guy, but that ticket was only $240. So he spread throughout most of those races. He got lucky by getting the winners, and he was paid handsomely. That's the pick six. And so there you have it, a little bird's eye view. If you're a first timer and you always want to go to the races and you want to talk with somebody and you understand it, like especially women that I meet at Del Mar, they're out there to have a good time, but they don't understand the logistics of betting. And it's confusing unless that you're really there every single day and somebody has taught you, because you learn something new every day. So when I go out, what I like to do is I like to look at the race, and I have numbers and algorithms and workouts and a plentiful amount of data that I usually share, and I share with, and I'm shared with as well, where people send me information. And so I digest and I evaluate this kind of information. And therefore, I'm able to make a decision on which horse I think and value. Now, if a horse is a short price, if he's odds on favorite, a heavy favorite, or if he's 2 to 1, I shy away most times from horses like that. I like value. And when I talk value, I mean, remember the morning line maker that I shared with you in regard to the morning lines are made on all the horses in the race. That means that an odd is assigned to this horse, and then that race opens up. And again, you and I, parimutuel, betting against each other, you betting more on one horse drops his odds. The horse that's not getting any attention, his odds rise, and he becomes an overlay, meaning that if his morning line was 5 to 1 and we're getting ready a couple minutes before the race, and the horses are approaching the gate, and we see this horse who was morning line at 5 to 1 is now 12 to 1, that is an overlay. And I look for overlays all the time, because if you like a horse at 5 to 1, then do you love a horse at 12 to 1? I would say yes, but most people shy away because they believe nobody is betting on the horse allowing him to be dispatched at 12 to 1. I think it's I think it's a leap of faith that if you like this horse, you make it valuable for you, and you bet him at 12 to 1. A lot of times the odds sway people away from their selections. They let the tote board, which has all the odds, dictate where they're going and preventing them to bet a horse that they liked. Meaning that there's a lot of times when I see a horse that's 5 or 6 to 1 and he's now 15 to 1, of course, I think, wow, something's wrong with this selection because they are not betting him. And they who are they? They're the public. They are making the odds on the horses by betting whoever they think is going to win. So if my horse isn't included in that, his odds are going to rise. And I believe, very, very simply put, that if you like a horse at 5 to 1, then you must love this horse at 10 or 12 to 1 because you're getting added value. Remember, the difference between a horse at 5 to 1 with a $2 bet is $12. A horse that's 10 to 1, that means it's $22. So you're getting $12 more by betting this horse at 10 to 1 than you would have had if you would have won at 5 to 1. We get ready now, as I mentioned, for the spring races. Uh, I'm sure the cold weather back on the East Coast has sort of sidetracked a lot of these connections, trying to get these lightly raced colts into the Derby. The prep races, big race car down Hallandale, Florida this Saturday. It'll be the Holy Bowl as well as the Fountain of Youth, two major prep races that are very, very important on the way to Churchill Downs. These connections are trying to get their colts or their fillies. The Kentucky Derby is open to fillies. Those are 3-year-olds who could be fast runners, but they're just not colts. They're females and they're fillies, and fillies have won the Kentucky Derby in previous years. And so we'll see all these prep races and we'll see the development of these horses. In 2 weeks, we'll see the Tampa Bay Derby at Tampa Bay Downs. And then we'll see the Wood Memorial in New York. And as I mentioned, the Fountain of Youth this weekend at Gulfstream Park. It'll be an exciting time. And as these prep races proceed, then these points become accumulated. And then at the end of the final prep race, the 20 equines, colts, geldings, or fillies who have enough points will earn their way into the starting gate and run for the roses, 1.25 miles. Then we talk about 2 weeks later, the Preakness down in Pimlico in Baltimore, Maryland, where the distance of the Kentucky Derby is 1.25 miles. The distance for the Preakness is 1.316 miles, and that's the second jewel of the Triple Crown. And then 3 weeks later, we'll see the Belmont Stakes. And our last episode, I mentioned that the Belmont Stakes was run at a distance of 1.5 miles. Well, since renovations at Belmont Park, they're building a brand new Belmont Park. It's going to be incredible. It won't be ready this summer, so they're going to run that race at Saratoga. And the distance of the Belmont Stakes will be shortened from 1.5 miles to 1.25 miles. And that will designate the Triple Crown, the Kentucky Derby, the first Saturday of May, the Preakness 2 weeks later, Baltimore, Maryland, and 3 weeks later, Saratoga Springs, New York, will be the Belmont, and that will covet the Triple Crown. On our last episode, we talked about there was only 11 horses through 1978 that won the Triple Crown. And year after year, starting the radio show, yours truly, in Las Vegas, Nevada in 1995, we had 6 or 7 colts and geldings that won the first 2 legs of the Triple Crown, the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness, only to be denied in the Belmont Stakes. And here we have it, 1978, the final year that this take place, the Triple Crown. We went 37 years without a Triple Crown winner until American Pharoah did it in 2015. So we snapped that string. And then who would have thought just 3 years later, a colt named Justify would do the same, win the Triple Crown. So not since 2018 have we had the Triple Crown being delivered to us in a horse racing. But this is such a great time of the year because a lot of unknowns, horses that are just beginning their racing career, could stand up and be heard from on the first Saturday of May. Mint Juleps, Churchill Downs, American Pie, and the Kentucky Derby. I'm Felix Taverna. This has been Horsepower. Johnny B is on vacation. He's going to be joining us next week as we get a little closer to the Kentucky Derby. I want to shout out to Anthony back in our studios, 50 Way Studios in Toledo, Ohio, and to the big cat, Craig Anthony Thompson, for providing a venue and a studio that is second to none for all podcasters and influencers and radio show hosts and whoever believes in the power of communication, video, audio, that they have a studio that covers all the bases and rings all the bell. So I will say adios from me to you, and I hope that you learned on how to bet a horse race on this episode of Horsepower. For Anthony, for Craig Anthony Thompson, I'm Felix Taverna. We will check in with you with the next episode of Horsepower. Until then, may your next bet be a winning one.